proof that NATO is not interested in peace and democracy in Libya or the protection of civilians. Another proof that this coalition of evil, powerful armies wants only wealth and power and dominance in Libya. In the early hours of this morning, around 4 a.m., our security forces intercepted the submission of many weapons from a ship that raises the Tunisian flag to two small Libyan boats with some Libyan rebels on board the boats. When we captured the two boats and questioned the Libyan rebels, they admitted that they had communications with NATO and that NATO arranged the submission of these weapons to them, and that the whole operation was provided by the Qatari army with the coordination of NATO ships in the Mediterranean. This includes all of these deadly weapons. This is just a small sample of what we have captured this early morning. As you can see, clearly this is not for the protection of civilians. This is not for democracy and peace in Libya. This is death, this is destruction, this is harm to children, to women, to our peaceful city. This is outside the mandate of the Security Council, and this is very heavy. I have to put it down now. But as we said before, when we say that we need people to sit down and discuss with us peacefully how to solve the Libyan crisis, no one agrees to sitting down with us. But when it comes to supplying weapons to the rebels, everyone is keen. A few days ago, France admitted that it's supplying the rebels with the weapons. The international community, the United Nations, did not criticize France, did not punish France, did not deal with this very, very important issue seriously. We believe France still supplies weapons to the rebels, and today the Libyan rebels whom we captured in these two boats admitted that the whole operation was carried out with the coordination between them, the Qatari army, and NATO ships in the Mediterranean Sea. This is another proof that the Libyan government position is the genuine peaceful one, and that NATO's interests in Libya are not about democracy and peace, but about greed, dominance, and occupation. We salute the bravery of our armed forces. We salute the bravery of our volunteers who were alert enough, courageous enough to intercept this very dangerous operation and capture all of these weapons and much more. Investigations, of course, are still going on, so to have the full picture, we still to wait for a day or two. But the information we have so far is sufficient to accuse NATO of supplying weapons to the Libyan rebels and coordinating with them to come to the to meet with ships. This time, a ship that was raising a Tunisian flag, and under the protection of NATO ships, the Libyan rebels received the weapons and they were moving back to Janzur. Janzur is about 30 to 40 kilometers west of Tripoli. As they were coming back, the two boats were intercepted by our volunteers and then supported by the Libyan army, and we were brought, of course, to Tripoli here for you to see. We know the boats are 17 meters long, and as for the number of the rebels, I know there were two officers, two like high-ranking rebels, not officers, two high-ranking, with about 8 individuals involved as well, so 10 in total. 2 we believe are high-ranking among the rebels, and the other 8 are, ordinary ranking individuals.
Did they resist? Did they fight?
No, actually, they did not resist. because the ambush was done very well, and they were immediately surrounded by many of our volunteers and the armed forces, and you could see immediately that there was no chance for them to resist, so they gave up immediately.
Did you intercept them on land or on the water? And are you able to actually move on the water?
I believe it was near land, but I need to check. I need to check exactly. But I believe as they were nearing land, they were intercepted. Okay, I'm told now it's 11, not 10. We still haven't got the name of the Tunisian ship, but I understand it's very important, and I will seek it out for you guys. Because of course we haven't seen the ship ourselves. These are the sayings of the rebels whom we have captured. So when we asked them where did they get the weapons from, they told us the story that they arranged with NATO and with this Tunisian ship and the Qatari army for this delivery to take place.
These weapons were supposed to be delivered to which group of rebels? Those who are in the north?
We believe it was supposed to start, because as you know, the areas west of Tripoli are safe and peaceful. So you have Janzur, you have Zawiya, you have Surman, all of these areas, Sobrata, are safe and peaceful. And we believe this shipment was not meant to go to the Western Mountain, but to actually stir violence in the area, in Janzur, Zawiya, and Sobrata. So we believe what they are trying to do is to start violence, not even help the continuous violence in this particular case, which is a very dangerous turn of event. So now they come to peaceful Libyan cities in which people live everyday life. They go to their shops, their schools, their hospitals, and they want to turn them into battlefields. This is a crime against humanity. We condemn NATO for it, and we demand the United Nations to send investigation teams to see for themselves what is being done against the Libyan nation by NATO, Qatar, and the armed rebels.
Do you have previous information? This operation, or was it just by chance?
No, we did not have previous knowledge. It was by chance. We intercepted a phone call, and then the phone call led us to other phone calls the same evening. In the same evening, the whole thing took place within a few hours.
So if you have, somebody had to be on the other end either to receive these or they were going to be transported somewhere once they arrived in Janzur.
Although thin, of course, in peaceful areas, because they believe that as they spread violence out, they will weaken us and they will maybe, according to their wishes, start a popular revolution or rebellion. So we do believe that the pockets, the sleeping cells of violence in Janzur, Zawiya are very, very weak, are negligible. But all they want to do is to fire here, fire there, cause some death here and there, kill a police officer, kill 2 soldiers, to help make Libya look like a battlefield, the whole country. Now people are regaining confidence, especially after the huge march that you saw in the Green Square last Friday. People have noticed that many closed shops opened, many people who were staying at home came out, many who actually left the capital to their farms outside the capital came back to the capital after last Friday. So the rebels now, and this is what our intelligence tells us, they do feel that they are being defeated and that people are regaining confidence. So they think by stirring violence in Janzur, in Zawiya, in Sobrata, and in other areas, they will make people scared and afraid and leave Tripoli again. Is doing its best to help secure the borders and make sure that this crisis reaches a peaceful solution. We, of course, ask the Tunisian government to investigate this event and find out who coordinated this operation, this illegal operation with the rebels and NATO, and take the necessary measures against them. As for the Qatari government, we know, of course, very well that it's involved in the conspiracy against Libya. The Qatari government is not interested in peace whatsoever. The Qatari government is a puppet government for NATO, and it's paying the very large bills that this aggression against Libya is costing. So we're not really very hopeful about the position of the Qatari government. As for NATO, we do appeal, of course, to the United Nations, to the European Union, to the wise and moral politicians of Europe to stop this aggression. It's very clear now, it's for all to see that NATO is interested in violence, is interested in death and destruction, because as I always say to you, it's only through violence, death and destruction NATO can win. If it is peace, democracy, transparency, elections, NATO will lose out, the rebels will lose out. That is why for 5 months now they are unwilling to respond positively to our demand for the start of a political transitional period in Libya immediately, without conditions. They are scared of losing out. Well, we are under continuous bombardment by NATO ships, and we don't have operations offshore. But as I said, this one was captured near land. So we waited for them. When we got the information, the people who were talking on the phone, they helped us, of course, unwillingly, by naming the location of the delivery and everything. And we just had our elements around the area, and they were looking for any signs of boats or any movement. And once they saw the boats coming in, they just moved in with small boats and made sure that they surrounded the boats and brought them to shore. The rebels, once they saw, there were 11 only of them, once they saw that they were surrounded by a huge number, they gave up immediately without a fight.